Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan Evans Egan. I'm a spiritual psychic medium and shamanic practitioner. I'm also an admin on the International Mediumship page where I will be posting this video also. My reason and purpose for doing these videos, short videos, is as I'm an admin on the International Mediumship page, for members who are developing themselves psychically, spiritually, mediumistically, tarot cards, all sorts of healers who are all in service of spirit. So what I do when I can is I put up and see if there's any questions that they'd like me to answer, help guide them regarding their spiritual development, psychic development, mediumship development. So I can only speak from my own experience and how when these questions I put up, it's kind of how I dealt with it. And if that helps you or helps anyone, then brilliant. It's good. So one of the questions was by JJ, and his question was, it's a challenge for him to hold a connection when receiving mental pictures. So most of us as mediums receive mental pictures. It would be subjective scenes. So it's like inside your mind, you see like a movie screen or an image will just come up within the mind. So that's subjective scene. If you're seeing something outside of you, like a spirit in person form, it's objective scene. So it's a challenge for him to hold a connection receiving mental images. It seems to fade away after a short few minutes and then blank. He has nothing. So he's asking, how does he hold it longer? Is there an easy way? Unfortunately, there's no really easy way, because everything is it's different. Everything is work. So let's first just work with the mental image. So first of all, most people who are doing this work are aware of our sixth sense, and most of the senses in which we'd be working with clairvoyance, which is the images, clairsentience, which is feeling, sensitive, sensing, and there's smelling, there's all sorts, and emotional with the big one, feeling, knowing. Okay, so when we're working with images, you will find a lot of us in our development. Some of us will have a stronger sense of mental image. We'll see mental images within our mind. Some will have a really strong feeling of sensing, just knowing. Emotional, really strong feeling also. So what happens here when we're actually receiving an image, we're actually receiving all three of those senses at the same time: feeling, sensing, hearing, smelling. All of this is going on around us. But what happens is when we connect in with those in spirit world, it's called kind of in their power, blending your soul with their soul so you can connect and be influenced in the way to feel their emotions or senses and to get information. So what happens here when we receive an image, most of the time when we receive an image, it's because those who have passed are trying to give us evidence of practical information that we can't feel with our emotions, or sense or smell, or feel. So it's through the image that they will give this. And what happens, unfortunately, with most of us when we're, and I've done this all my life when I was beginning my journey, and for many, many years after, because in training, the first thing to tell you is read the image, hold the image, read it. But unfortunately, what happens there is if we're connected in soul to soul and we go to read the image, we leave that power, we leave that link and go into our minds to try and read the image. So we've already dropped link. We've already come out and we're in our heads trying to read the image. So the learning and the training and the commitment and the discipline is to remain within those senses, remain within the blending of the soul, remain within the power, and allow all your senses to work at the same time to give you an understanding of the image, not the image itself. The image is just triggering. It's triggering something within you. It's, for instance, for an example, when I was doing a reading a few years ago, I seen a red car. So the image of a red car, you say to the person, you understand a red car? No, absolutely not. He didn't drive. What happens a lot of the times, we drop it and we don't try to understand it. So I didn't ask for another image. I asked to help me understand what I received. And within that moment of getting the image again, I became aware of sound, gravel, the car going over gravel. I became aware I was outside. I felt outside. So all my senses were working at the same time. And then I felt I was looking at the car, but I was actually sideways. So I was able to say that this person was actually found on the ground and they were aware, they were like unconscious. When the car was kind of coming up the drive, they were able to understand that. I wouldn't have got that if I just read the image. So JJ and other people who struggle with understand mental images, they're only to trigger. And what happens is if you misinterpret, and I found this in my own readings, if I don't get the image the first time and I get confused and mixed up, I let it go. And the person connecting with you through spirit world will do their best to help give maybe another image or another sense to help understand that. So if you receive the image of a car, it could be anything, anything. How do you know they're a mechanic? You might get a feel, I'm working on the car, I'm getting a sense of being outside. So you use all your senses. So when you get triggered the next time with an image, just relax. It's not breathing into the image, it's understanding the whole impact of everything that you're getting with it. Okay. Now it can literally mean a car. But if you get a no, it's understanding. Don't drop that. But it's understanding that everything is given in that image, but it's always for practical evidence. Always. So I'm trying to think of another situation when I was in that predicament. I was actually at a training session and I was reading for a lady in front of me, and her mother gave me this image of her on a bus. Could be anything. But what I felt from this lady, and I felt this on the lady's travels, I was on a journey, I was on a destination. I was like, knew I had to get somewhere and I was ready to get there. I could see the townhouses I was going by. So I knew where I was going. And the lady said, yeah, well, yeah, my mom would, travel on the bus and she would come see me. And I was like, but I cannot get over the urgency of this. And she wasn't really getting it. I was getting frustrated because I couldn't really understand why the lady was trying to give me this sense of a goal to reach. I was on my way to do something. And then all of a sudden, the spirit gave me the high priestess card, which I connect with intuitive. And we were putting all these pieces together, and a story came out that her mother, this girl was pregnant. When she was pregnant, her mother sensed and intuitively connected that something was wrong and made the journey on the bus to go to the city, to her daughter's house, to tell her to go to the hospital. Now, would I have got all that information? I wish I would, but everything was there in the image. The feeling of being on the bus, the destination, getting there, the high priestess card, everything was there for me to understand. So it's a journey in learning. It's not going to come like that. It's a practice. It really is. So a lot of the times on what I found helpful, because when I first began my journey and doing readings and platform readings, I always received mental images. Always. It was always the strongest. And then they stopped. And then I nearly died because I didn't know what was happening. So for me, the learning is to, if you're getting images and you're not really understanding them, then if you have the chance and the opportunity to attend practice circles or practice classes, practice not reading the image. Read the sense, read the feel. So instead, when you get the image, feel what it's triggering so you can learn to go that way. Because it's not an empty thing. Everything is in that image, but what it's doing is it's triggering all your clairs at the same time. We just work with the most predominant one, but they're always working at the same time. So my advice is to, if you're struggling with this, if you have an opportunity to practice classes and practice training or anything like that, practice on the other clairs, the other strengths, to understand them, to really feel that. But the images are mental images within our mind. It's always practical evidence. It's evidence that cannot be given. It can be evidence about a job where they worked, evidence about a car accident. You might feel how someone's passed. You might feel all those things, but there's in the images, they're triggered because there's it's practical stuff that we can't get through our senses and our feelings. So they are important, very important. So JJ, my only, as I said, the easiest way is to understand how your clairs work, practice the different clairs, and always be aware that when the image comes up, now that you're aware of this, when you're sitting on your own and kind of get an idea of an image that you've had before in your mind, were you aware of anything else that was going on in that feeling? Were you aware of an emotion that you felt, sad, happy, outside? Was it a working feeling? Was it, be aware of what the senses are. But unfortunately, when we go to hold the image and read the image, we have come out of the link. We've come out of our blending with the soul of the spirit world, and we've gone into our heads. So the learning is to remain within that link, remain within that power, so the information can continue to flow. So we get it, we understand it, and what happens if we don't understand it and we misinterpret it? It's like you'll get another image or something similar or something to add on. You will always get it because the souls of their loved ones want you to understand. They're doing their best to help you. So our way and our only way to help them is to relax. Because what happens is when we get the image, we jump and we just tighten, and then we go into this mental time, and then it's gone. So when you get a blank and you've gone into that blank space, they're not, spirit's not gone. It's just take a breath and just take a breath and relax. Feel yourself reconnecting and just ask, can you help me understand that? And see what happens. But it's a normal thing to happen in this. But the worst advice I was ever given was to read the image and hold the image, because, and it wasn't the people's fault. That's what they were told at the time, but it's only through experience and over the last few years where I've learned that's incorrect, because we come our power and we go in our minds to read the mental image. There is everything going on in the background. As I said, sound, there could be smells, feeling, sensing, knowing. You could hear the engine roar. You could get a picture of a train, it means nothing, but you could get the sense of feeling I'm standing outside waiting for a train. You could get the hearing it. You get the sense that you're driving the train. There's loads of information given within the image, but it's to trigger all your clairs and all your senses, because everything is within that. Everything. So I hope that has helped, guys. Hope it makes sense. Take care.